The day we found out we were having our first baby was, oh, I remember being so scared and anxious, but also positive as well. I remember doing about, oh my goodness, I think I lost count on how many pregnancy tests I took, but I remember just taking so many just to be sure. And but then I remember it was a Thursday on the 8th of March 2012. I remember I started to feel a bit off and a little bit of cramping, so I just went to work anyway, and then I noticed that I started to bleed a little bit, and then my doctor said just go straight up and get a scan done now. So I remember waiting in the waiting room with Mum, and you know, just, I don't know, nothing was really going through my mind. I wasn't really thinking, you know, oh, have I lost I don't know, like, I just don't, I think it was such a rush, so my mind was more just like, yep, going in for a scan, okay, but in the back of my mind I think I knew. And then the sonographer, he couldn't find anything at all, and then that was basically left it at that, and I knew at that point it kind of all sunk in. So I knew our little baby grew its wings that day, and I went to the doctor straight out after, and yeah, he didn't know, you know, he said it's because it's so early, your body just has to let it do its natural thing. So I remember going home that night, and I was on my own that night and just being in so much pain. It was excruciating, but you know, there was nothing that anyone could do. I just had to let my body do what it had to do, and I rested, and I think I went to sleep in pain. My body was just like so much in pain, and I remember just going to sleep, and next morning wasn't the best feeling, obviously. So yeah, that kick-started, I guess, well, it did, that was at the start of our pregnancy journey, and I know that the anxiety and the fear just started from then. We then fell pregnant, I think 2 months later, in May 2012, and I think I was feeling, trying anyway to feel a bit more optimistic about it, and so I remember going in for the dating scan, and that was all fine. The baby was there, little flickering of the heartbeat, and then we had the scan at 11 weeks, and baby was fine, healthy and happy and bouncing around, so that was really good, and I think that's what really helped me kind of overcome, because I had gone past 5 weeks when we had the first loss. I was feeling, yep, okay, things should be on the up, you know, and then at 13 weeks I had a midwife, my first midwife appointment. That went fine. She did say, look, you know, we might not be able to find the heartbeat at this early on the Doppler, but we found it, and we do have a recording somewhere of that. So I hadn't seen anyone for 6 weeks, but things seemed fine. I was, you know, still, it was early for me to feel movement. So you know, nothing really concerned me, as I was fine, I felt fine. And I remember clear as day though, 2 days before our 19-week scan, that whole weekend, I just felt like something wasn't right. I just wasn't happy, and something just didn't, I don't know, I think that I put it down to just being really nervous for the scan, because I hadn't seen the baby or had any checkups for such a long time. So on the Monday, because, you know, we were planning on basically, you know, obviously making sure the baby was healthy, but also hoping to find out the sex of the baby. So my parents came to the scan, my partner's parents came to the scan along with his sister. The mornings was, it just seemed like the morning was really rushed. And I remember Mum saying, oh, we're running a little bit late, you know, and I was like, oh, already anxious as anything. And we got to the hospital, and then my parents came, and yeah, Mum, I don't know, I could see something in Mum's eyes. She just looked like whether she was really anxious as well, I think. And so we were in the waiting room, then we went in with the sonographer, and so we saw the baby on the screen first, and the baby was like in a kind of arched position, and my mind was like, oh yeah, you know, babies, you know, because they're still really small at this gestation, they, you know, they cuddle up inside and whatnot. And the room was so, I remember just being so quiet, and she was doing the measurements of the baby's head and everything else, and then she put the heartbeat on, and it was just blank. There was no up and down movement on the screen or anything, and I remember my mind just being like, oh, that, you know, there's just there's no sound on the machine, you know, it's yeah, there's a heartbeat there. And she turned the screen away, and she just said that it's not good news. And I remember just breaking down completely, I remember losing it. I remember Mum at my feet, you know, crying, and then my in-laws had to look after Andy, and then, you know, my poor sister-in-law came in after we had found out, and it all started from that point. I remember the day so clear, and it never leaves me. I'll always remember that day clear as anything. And I remember getting taken out of the room. It was just all in slow motion. The women at the front desk were just, you know, they were looking at me, because I think I was, you know, I felt like in another world, and got taken into another room, and then I think a wardsman needed my details, so I think I just gave my details to someone else to give to them. I just, you know, the shock had sunk in, and we were in this other room for a little while, and they gave us the option of, you know, I can go to a bigger hospital, because I had to, the hospital we were in for the scan was a small one, so I needed to go to a larger hospital, to their maternity ward. And so we decided that, yeah, we'll go there straight away. They said that the maternity ward was ready to have me, and so I remember we drove there. I remember we were in the elevator, and there was a couple pregnant, quite heavily pregnant. They smiled at us, and I think I might have smiled back at them. And then we walked into the ward, and basically we got into our room in maternity ward, and they just gave us the options of basically, you can, you know, there's a look, we're not really sure of the size of the baby yet, but you can either opt for a, you know, we'll induce you to go into labour, or a D&C, or you can go home and wait it out. And I immediately said, I'm not waiting, I'm not going home and waiting for things to happen. I just can't do it. So they looked at the scans, and they came back, and they said that they're going to have to induce me into labour, and I'd have to deliver our little baby. So initially I was just like, how can they let me do this? Like, I have to go into labour and deliver our baby that's, you know, not going to come home with us, you know, how? And but then they started the induction, and from the moment they started, I think it took 3 hours for things to really get full on. And so yeah, things started about 6 in the evening, like full on, and I had self-administered morphine, so I was able to use that for my pain relief. They did offer me an epidural, but I didn't want to, so it was a 7-hour labour. It was, I guess, considering it was a pretty good labour, my mind was just in the mindset of, got to get through this, I've just got to power through this labour, and then I'll go into the next phase. At 9:27 p.m. on September 17th, 2012, I delivered a little boy, and we named him William. And from that moment, I know our journey was still continuing from the beginning, from our first loss, and I just thought, why has this happened again? Like, can I not, you just start questioning and thinking of everything possible. Yeah, it's never left me, and it never will. But I'm so grateful for going into labour and delivering our son, because I was able to see him, what features he had, and already he had long fingers and long toes, long arms, long legs, so it was, I'm grateful for those special moments that we had. And then yeah, it was a hard time when we had to say our official goodbye, but he's at home with us now, and I feel at peace. We have a little urn for him, and he's in our living room and on a special shelf that we have, so I know that he sends us little reminders that he's here, and I thank him for that. I know that he's living in our hearts, but what I've learnt from this experience is that grief never ends. Grief never goes. Time does heal. Time heals. But, you never ever will forget your baby. You'll never, no one can tell you to get over it. Don't let anyone tell you that it's time to move on, or I think you need to get over it. No one can tell you that, because you do not get over it. Time heals, but you do not get over what's happened. But things do get easier. The little things start to pick up in your life, and you start to feel a little bit normal again. But that's the biggest thing I've learned, is that grief never leaves you, and the grief does get easier, but you will forever, ever grieve for your baby, and you will always love your baby, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. And I want to reach out to families, and I want to get the word out there, and that's what I want to do.